Coulson might push him. That's about the only safe prediction I can make about the outcome of the election at this stage. My second point is in regard to that we are demonstrating once again to the world that the democratic process, now in its 225th year in America, remains very much a work in progress. It is still being defined and refined. However, as inefficient, expensive, awkward, and at times passionate as it may seem, I think we'll probably stick to democracy. We may tinker somewhat with the process, perhaps coming up with better chads, for example. And please remember, the political process that is now playing out keeps our lawyers, talk show hosts, and other talking heads employed. And the last thing a country wants is unemployed lawyers and talking heads. Speaking of chads, the once insignificant piece of paper has become a growth industry in the United States. Just today, for example, the Washington Post ran its third article in 2 weeks devoted to this lowly little piece of scrap of paper. How it became, as a spin-off from punch cards, which were invented in 1877 by a member of the U.S. Census Bureau, one Herman Hollerith. Now, many years later, Hollerith would eventually leave government service, and in 1924, he founded IBM. So there is a connection, a real connection, to the original IT industry. Hanging, swinging, dimpled, or pregnant, the once lowly Chad has become part of today's the world's vocabulary today. I think more than any other phrase in Pakistan, information technology has become the buzzword, the buzz phrase of the year 2000. Along with the high end of textiles, it has perhaps the greatest long-term potential to expand exports for Pakistan to work its way out of serious economic woes. And as I go around town to different areas and parties and whatnot, I've been hearing a lot of woes, as I'm sure my friend the governor has. The lead article in this month's edition of Newsline spends a whole full and well-done article on the moving out from Pakistan of mainly younger people somewhat disenchanted with the possibility of staying here. The lead article in the news over the weekend, one was 90% Pakistanis not hopeful of country's economic future, going on to note that the percentage of Pakistani respondents to the poll who said they desired permanent resettlement abroad had risen from 17% in the mid-1980s to 34% currently. Now, interestingly, that's the same percentage increase as those who fell into absolute poverty. In other words, living on less than $1 a day from the 1988 to about the current number. So permit me to cite a couple of examples which, to me, are rather exciting and are going on here. 2 evenings ago, I attended the thesis exhibits to qualify for a 4-year diploma of students of the Institute of Arts and Craft, which is directed by Qudsi and Nisar, the well-known artists. Nikki and I stopped by one exhibit, one put on by a young woman by the name of Kautak Farid, a forthcoming, articulate, dynamic graphic artist with a tremendously sunny disposition. And what a dynamo. She had an extraordinarily well laid out presentation that she said would be up on her forthcoming website within about 4 months. The company she intends to establish will be the website www.company4ideas.com. And she claims that it will be able to take other companies' ideas and products and project them so that sales will be increased. Now, I'm a civil servant and not a judge of private sector companies. But if there's anyone looking for hard-charging, adept graphic artists for website and other business advertising solutions, then this young woman is brimful of ideas. She's young and she's ready to go. Absolute no gloom or doom in the world of Qatar. And I had the pleasure yesterday of going over to Jamshoro to the convocation of Mehran University. The governor was there as chief guest, as he is the chancellor, of course. And it was noted by Governor Sumro that in the university's 23-year history, this was but the third convocation. For indeed, factional, politically driven strife has intimidated the university in those other years from having this rite of passage for institutions of academic bent. But I think under the able Vice-Chancellorship of Abdul Rahman Memon, who introduced qualifying exams to public universities in Pakistan just 3 years ago, the intimidation by a minority with political agendas is a thing at the past. Now this, again, 2 points that to me are small points, but they are exciting, they are positive, and they are not the gloom and doom that we oftentimes hear. The number of students going into IT, of course, is expanding, particularly in the commercial sector. But even more interesting is the number of young women who are entering into the IT ranks. Within the university systems, they're becoming larger and larger. Indeed, at Mehran, it's presently at 30%, but they expect it to grow. At other universities, there is even indications that the majority of the IT specialists will be women. And I must add that our good governor came up with a couple of phrases that gained hearty responses from his listeners. In speaking of our current times with respect to information technology, he noted that we are in the age of the email and the female, and that's true. Who in this room would wish to return to our pre-email days? And if there's going to be an equalizer for women's participation in the marketplace, including academia, then it is in IT. And I noticed just by the way that Cressoft Karachi is set up, it's a good environment, it's clean, it's friendly, people are working together, and there is very little in the terms of what one finds sometimes in our streets. My discussants yesterday at Mehran informed me that the percentage of women students, as I mentioned, is on the increase, is on the uptick. Now, thinking about the future of Pakistan and IT, as I go around the training institutes and software houses, it is clear to me that the push in information technology in Pakistan is truly global in thinking. Indeed, while still modest, the IT institutes are receiving direct foreign investment from the Pakistani community abroad, or I should say communities, to establish them on a commercial basis here and to prepare well-trained employees for dignified employment at software houses such as Cressoft here in Pakistan, as well as those houses abroad. This melting of a clear line between foreign and domestic